Hey guys, it's Daniel, licensed therapist. The video on my channel that has the most views is a reaction video I did to David Goggins' shorts. And well, let's just say I get a lot of comments on that video, and a lot of them are unfavorable because, well, I laugh a lot. And I'm not laughing at David Goggins. I think a lot of people mistake me for laughing at him or putting him down. And I get a lot of comments like, you couldn't run 100 miles. And well, yeah, I can't run 100 miles. And whilst perusing the interwebs, I came across this interview Chris Williamson does with David Goggins about how he was able to get through SEAL's training camp and what he did mentally. I thought it was very fascinating, so let's get into it.
Let me use Hell Week. This is a perfect example. Hell Week's 130 hours. And 130 hours is a lot of seconds, a lot of seconds. And if you lose, let's say you win every second but one, you lost. It only takes 1 second for you to lose the whole thing. So the 1 second decision is just that. You're in a situation where life is sucking. Let's say you're in extreme cold water and your life is flashing before your eyes. Every time that wave goes over your head, your thought process is, I got to get the fuck out of this water. And you're in Hell Week. And you're hour one of 130 hours. It's all fun and games, okay? Because at the beginning of Hell Week, the guns are going off. It's like a pep rally. So you're hyped up. And your boys are linked arms and you're getting sprayed. And it's like a pep rally. The instructors are yelling at you. Bombs are going off. Concussion grenades. Blanks from N60s. Yeah, hoo-yah. Yeah, motherfucker. Yeah. But then what they do is they shut that shit off. They shut it off. All that hoo-yah, all that hype, it gets real quiet. And they march you out to that surf zone for something called surf torture. And it's that water, that Pacific Ocean is cold as shit. So no more pep rally. You're now in your head. You're linked arms with, your brothers beside you. You don't know if they're going to be there long or not. You don't care. You think about yourself. You lay back and that first wave hits you. Your mind goes straight from hour 2 all the way to hour 130. You can't process 5 days of this. You're now like, I got to get out of here. You're in fight or flight. It's cold. I can't be cold this long. And then this is where that 1 second decision comes in. You forgot every reason why you wanted to be there. You don't care about SEALs. You don't care about any of this shit. You don't care about fighting for your country. You don't care about that gaudy gold trident that they put on your chest. You don't care about any of that no more. All you want to do is go back home. You want the warmth. You may want something to eat. You want your girl to hold you. All those things of comfort are there in that 1 second. And this is where people lose. So what I do in that 1 second, because we all think about quitting, it's hard. But what you have to do in that 1 second is hard to process information during pain. Because that pain takes over and you can't think rationally. You're thinking about fight or flight, save yourself. That's not a rational thought. It's not a thought that's going to get you through hard times.
First of all, that sounds like it absolutely sucks. And yes, the Pacific Ocean is very cold. I can confirm. So we definitely have to give respect to our Navy SEALs, and I really like how David describes what's going on inside the mind. We have, as human beings, two different kinds of nervous systems that are connected to two different parts of our brain. When things are calm and normal and safe, our nervous system that connects to our prefrontal cortex is activated. And our prefrontal cortex is our more developed part of our brain that is responsible for us thinking. But when we go through something like pain and suffering, our prefrontal cortex shuts down and our primitive part of our brain, that activates, and that's what we call fight or flight. And what David says is absolutely right. It is incredibly difficult to think when you're in fight or flight. Basically, your body and your mind thinks that you're dying, so it's going to do everything it can to save you and preserve you. It's a very powerful thing, so I'm actually very curious as to what David's going to say about it. Let's check it out.
Most people fail that 1 second. So what happens, what I do in that 1 second. And there's a bigger process to all this, but in that 1 second, I physically stayed in that water because if I get out of the water, I quit. So I physically stay in the water, but mentally, I'm on the beach with the instructors. And the instructors, it's cold outside, so they got these parkers on. They got their cup of Joe, and they're warm because they've already been through it. So now it's your turn to go through it. So mentally, I get back with them. I'm still in the water physically, but mentally, I'm back with them. I'm chilling. I got my parker on, and now I'm thinking logically because I'm warm now. Mentally, I'm warm. I've taken that 1 second. Let's not quit yet, Goggins. Let's think about your options. Where are you going to end up if you quit this shit? Where are you going to go? What are you going to say to yourself? Because you know you're going to get warm. The second you get out of this water, you could take a shower and you could be warm. And in 5 days, you could be out. So I start thinking logically. I calm my brain down because your brain just wants to get the fuck out. Ring the bell, put your helmet down, get warm, and then you're really fucked. And these are the things you have to think about in the 1 second decision.
So David sort of describes him staying in a place physically and his mind leaving. And it really reminds me of,
if it's clear and yellow, you've got juice there, fella. If it's tangy and brown, you're in cider town. Now, there's two exceptions, and it gets kind of
Oh,
tricky
you
here.
can stay, but I'm leaving.
Can be yellow if they're using late season apples. And of course, in Canada, the whole thing's flip-flop.
So Daniel, what is going on here? Basically, David is describing dissociation. And what is dissociation? It's when your mind detaches itself from reality. When we experience trauma, it becomes so unbearable psychologically that our brain does what basically Homer's did. It says, I'm out of here. And it's a pretty neat self-preservation trick, but as you can probably guess, it's not very natural because there's some very interesting things that can happen as a result of that. Dissociation is what causes dissociative identity disorder, which is formerly known as multiple personality disorder. What happens is the person experiences such extreme trauma that they have to create another person within that person's mind to experience all the trauma. Someone who is able to handle it, someone stronger. But I'm actually very impressed with the way David handled this very, very difficult psychological situation. Let's keep going.
So that's what that's all about. It's about gaining control of your mind, putting things back in the proper perspective, and then saying, I really do want to be here. And I'm going to have a bunch of these 1 seconds through this 130-hour journey. And I have to learn to control these because if I fail one of these 1 seconds, I will not be a SEAL. I will not be a doctor. I will not be a lawyer. I will not be whatever the fuck it is. So that's how important that 1 second decision is. It's all about your mind takes control of you. You have to say, fuck you. I run this motherfucker. And that's what that's all about.
Projecting yourself forward to see what are the consequences of failing, what are the consequences of stopping,
Yep.
is about as powerful of a motivation strategy as I can think of, you know? Because what you're doing is you're trying to optimize right now to stop the discomfort.
That's right.
But what you're going to pay for that in is shame and guilt and regret long term.
That's right.
So what you need to be able to do is bundle all of that up that is as yet unfelt, but will last for way, way, way longer. You know, the future is much longer than now.
That's right.
The future is going to extend out up until the day that you die. And the now is just for now. And even 130 hours is just 130 hours.
That's right.
And you get to look back. And do you look back with pride and glory? Or do you look back with shame and guilt?
That's it. That's the 1 second. You just summarized it right there. And most people fail those 1 seconds. And then that 1 second leads to 20 years, 30 years, 40 years of fuck. I have people who have been through training with me, Ranger School, SEAL training, Air Force training, and I get calls from them today, and they have great lives. And all they talk about is how they failed in that one moment. And they can't even enjoy their life now because they're now warm. They're now warm. There's no more suffering. There's no more suffering for me either. And we're in the same boat now. But you're suffering. So we're not suffering, but you're thinking about what you could have been. I am exactly what I should have been.
So if we're talking about shame, if we're talking about regret and guilt as a motivator, I am not a huge fan of it. I do admit that it is a very powerful motivator. And with those things motivating you, you can achieve some amazing things. But this is why I don't like it. Those things are pretty negative emotions. They're pretty uncomfortable. And if we're fueling our behavior with negative emotions, basically what we're doing is using negative reinforcement. And what is negative reinforcement? It is keeping something bad away or taking away of something bad in order to increase the behavior. And I think we should be motivated by positive reinforcement, which is rewarding a behavior with good things. And David mentions that earlier when he talks about defending your country or getting the Navy SEALs pin, but it seems like those rewards were not strong enough to carry people through this very difficult training. And so he relies on negative reinforcement. And I have to say, I haven't done anything close to what David is talking about. So maybe what he's saying is a strong negative reinforcement is the only thing that can carry you through something like that. So that may be true, but for us in the everyday life, I would say shy away from negative reinforcement. Look for the positive reinforcement. Let's keep going.
And that's where people start to lose it. Because now I realize that in that 1 second. I go through all that. I know how it's going to feel because I failed so many times before. Failure is the ultimate thing, man. I failed so many times before. And that's why I don't look at failure anymore as failure. I look at it as my first, second, and third attempt. So that's what that's all about, man.
Well, I mean,
Man, I love this so much. And basically what David does is he shifts the perspective. And that is actually something I do all the time with my clients in private practice. Because how you perceive something influences how you think, which then influences how you feel, which then influences how you act. So perception is so powerful. If you fail, it's possible that you're a failure. It's evidence to that. But if it's just an attempt, then we know that success is right around the corner. If you don't succeed, but if you don't take it as a failure, if you take it as a lesson, we can cherish that experience and we can know that we're gonna grow. If we look at a failure as a setback and it's an opportunity for us to demonstrate grit and perseverance, then it's not such a bad thing. Two people can go through the exact same thing, and what separates their experiences and how they react to it is perception. So what I do with clients a lot is we take a look at their life and we talk about what isn't going right, and then we examine their perspectives. And then we say, how does this perspective make you think? How does it make you feel? And what are the actions that proceed from this perspective? And then we take a look and glimpse into the future and say, how are you going to end up if you follow this perspective all the way throughout life? And then we say, where do you want to be down the road? And we take that end goal and we craft a perspective that's going to get us there. So I love what David is saying. I think it's extremely smart. It's brilliant. Why? Because it's what I would do. But is that tooting my own horn? Well, I guess not if that's true. And that's my perspective. Well, that's my thoughts on David and how he got through SEALs training. It's amazing. I think that he's really an incredible person. But what do you think? If you have any thoughts, leave it in the comments down there. Also, if you have anything you want me to react to, leave it in the comments. Thanks for watching, you guys. I'll see you next time.